Alafia, and welcome back to the online Ifa classroom. My name is David Graham, or Awo Ifa Power, as I am called around the Ifa Foundation International. And if you are returning, thanks for coming back. If you're new, welcome. Today I thought I would do something a little different. The last few of these videos have been kind of brief online lectures about the Ifa philosophy. I thought today I would talk a little bit about Ifa Power. You know, if you do this long enough, a couple things become very apparent. The first is that there are no coincidences. Indeed, what you learn is that what appears to be coincidence are a series of events that are happening for a very specific reason, very specific purpose, and that have a very specific cause and effect to them. But even more, I think, I have an endless stream of my peers. Once they find out I'm an Ifa priest, and once they find out about the work that I do, that inevitably ask one simple question, and that is, that all sounds great, the prayers, the connection to the earth, the connection to ancient wisdom, but does it really work? Which I never tire of answering, by the way. And so today I thought I would share with you guys a brief story about does it work? Again, being an Ifa priest for this long, I've gotten to see a lot. I suspect I will get to see a lot more in my career, but you get to witness everything from folks getting a job, folks mending broken fences, folks receiving healing that medical doctors find inexplainable, on and on and on. Today I'm going to relate a story about a man that works for me. We're going to call him Joe to protect his anonymity, and a situation where Ifa recently helped intervene and helped change the course of someone's life for the better. Joe was hired to work for my company in South Florida, and essentially he was hired to handle all of the day-to-day operations of the business, so we'll call him, for all intents and purposes, a general manager. When we brought Joe on, he was the perfect candidate for the job, well-spoken, good appearance, a long background of good work history, good references, just the ideal candidate for the job, really a lifesaver. We were very happy to, and still very happy to have him. He worked for us for about a month, 2 months, did a great job. Again, my partner and I were over the moon to have him as an addition to the team. He's making very good money, seemed to be very happy doing the job he was doing. And then one day I went down to South Florida to check in the business, and Joe said, "Do you mind if I take you and your partner out to lunch? I'd like to talk to you about something." And I said, "Sure." So we went out to lunch, and lo and behold, Joe said, "Thank you very much for the opportunity. I love doing what I'm doing. You and your partner have been very good to me. You've been stand-up guys. But I'm probably going to have to stop working for you very soon." To which I, of course, said, "Why? You know, is there something we can do?" He said, "Well, believe it or not, I'm probably going to have to go to jail, and it's going to be longer than an overnight stay." As you can imagine, my jaw hit the table, and then I proceeded to get a story. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version, is that Joe was in the wrong place at the wrong time with definitely some of the wrong people, and was arrested on a narcotics trafficking charge for a significant amount of narcotics, enough to be a significant felony. To make matters even worse, this was not Joe's first felony arrest. He had been arrested in his youth and been convicted. And so, by all accounts and all rationale, he was looking at going away for a long, long time. He had been fighting for 6 years to try to beat the case. He had spent considerable time and considerable money. But again, the short version of the story is that his defense attorney told him that he had gone back and forth with the DA, or the prosecutor, as much as possible. They had hashed it out, gone back and forth, and the prosecutor was dead set that Joe was going to do jail time. How much time was to be determined, 3 years, 5 years, year and a half, but he was not going to walk away with a slap on the wrist. And so again, Joe said, "Thank you for the opportunity, and here's my situation. And by the way, I'll be going away much sooner than later. And I just wanted to let you guys know and make alternative arrangements. Well, again, as you can imagine, I was flabbergasted. I took in all the information, thanked Joe for his honesty. I went back to work, and when I got back home, I did what I always do in major life-changing events, and that is I locked myself in my office. I pulled out my divining tools, my opalite, and I asked Arumula what Arumula thought of the situation. And for those of you unaware, I'll do another video on divination, but Arumula is the energy that we diviners communicate with to do what we call a reading and to look at the energies that surround a person and decide where they're at. Well, when I did the reading on Joe, a couple things became very clear. One was that he was indeed in quite a pickle. Two, that he was very blocked and he was essentially curled up in a ball, taking the punches and just hoping that it didn't get worse. And then three, most importantly, Arumula said, or Ifa said, that he didn't have to go to jail, that there was a way out of the situation. And so then I faced a very interesting decision, and that was, do I go back down to the business and explain to him who I am and what I do in my non-work time and offer a solution, or do I let it go? And I think the truth is, if you're a diviner long enough, it becomes incumbent upon you to do the right thing for the right reasons. And so I decided to go down there, and after work one day, I pulled Joe aside. I explained to him who I was and what I did. He's of Latin background, so he's very familiar with Santeria Lukumi. And he did what most Latinos do after I explained that I'm a Babalao. It took him about 10 minutes to get over the fact that the 6'4" white boy is an Ifa priest. And then he asked me, how did I get involved? Yada, yada, yada. But the long and short was that Joe was blocked. He was not moving forward with his problem. He was waiting, hoping things didn't get worse. And Ifa suggested that there were a series of abodes that could be done and that indeed he didn't have to go to jail. I did a myriad of abodes for him up here myself. I'll do a separate piece on blood versus bloodless, but for those who have the experience, all of the abodes were done bloodlessly. There was not one two-legged or four-legged animal called for to fix the situation. I did some abodes for him up here, and he wound up doing one abode for himself down in South Florida. Again, the short version is, initially what happened is he received what's called a continuance from the court, basically extending his window by 30 or 45 days before his sentencing was scheduled to occur. And then a few weeks into that continuance, after doing some more abodes for him here, I got that inevitable text message / phone call that said, David, you're never going to believe what happened. And of course I said, sure I will, but tell me what happened. His prosecutor walked into a meeting with the DA, and lo and behold, the DA sat down at the table and said, I'm ready to cut a deal that will get your client out of doing jail time. Essentially, the deal turned into a long-term probation, but the deal has since been signed, submitted to the judge, approved, and Joe's not doing any jail time. Now, it's important to point out, for those of you that think, what we do is magic, it's really not. The results may look magical to those that don't understand the path, but Ifa alone did not get Joe out of doing jail time. The reading alone did not get Joe out of doing jail time. The abodes, or the offerings we did for Joe, did not get him out of jail time. However, Ifa partnered with the other things that we did, the letter of personal reference to the judge, the letter of character from family members and friends, the multiple page dissertation that we submitted to the prosecutor explaining why Joe was not a good candidate for prison and why he needed to be free, and the benefit to my business, to his family, to those that he took care of, etc., etc. In partnership with Ifa and with the reading, with the sacrifices, I believe, and Joe believes, were the turning point that made the difference between going away and staying a free man. And the Orisha, by the way, that he has to buy a drink for is Orisha Oshun. Oshun being about movement and curiosity and not being stagnant, moving around problems, being dynamic. So it bows to Oshun, prayers to Oshun that if there was any way to get him out of doing serious time, that it manifest. Um, and again, those were all done bloodlessly, and he's a free man and hopefully will be with us for many years to come. Since then, Joe has really embraced the path of Ifa, having witnessed an Ifa miracle for himself. He's doing his ancestor worship. He's working with his Ori. He's learning from myself and others at the foundation, reading books, looking at online classes, and looking to delve more deeply into the Ifa philosophy. How far he'll go, what he wants to accomplish, those are all decisions that he's going to have to make. But I did this piece with his blessing. And I can tell you that if he were sitting next to me, he would tell you that a miracle was indeed performed. Something that was so definite and so finite and was going to happen and was unavoidable. I mean, we're talking about the point where the man closed a business, closed down a retail location, moved his things into storage. He, in his mind, was going to jail. And I told him, and Father, there's only two things that are certain, and that is the day that we are born and the day that we are supposed to die. Any other event can be forecast, and with the power of the right Ifa priest, the power of the Orisha, your ancestors, Arumula, can be changed if it's supposed to be. So I just wanted to take a few minutes. We'll get back on track with more academic content on the next video. But for those of you that ask me or have a question, does it work? I can assure you that of all the things that I am in life, practical is one of them. And not only does Ifa make me a better man, better person, but it truly does work. And that's the reason that I do it. That's the reason that clients come for readings. That's the reason that they make bows. And most importantly, that's the reason that they keep coming back, is because Ifa works if you know what you're doing. So Ifa Power, the miracles that can happen with this philosophy. Think about it. And as always, if you have any questions, concerns, criticisms, you can reach me at ifafore, IFAFORE, at ifafoundation.org, or you can email me directly through YouTube, and I'll do my best to get back to you. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other.